To reduce shipping costs, many machines are shipped in a disassembled state. When you receive the equipment, the bed and beam will be separated, as shown here. Regarding how to restore accuracy after receiving a disassembled machine, first, please rest assured that all machines undergo strict accuracy inspections before leaving the factory. During disassembly for shipping, the x-axis or y-axis are separated. For such linear feed axis, the realignment and recalibration process is as follows. Step 1. Clean the contact surfaces between the beam and the sliding block. These surfaces were cleaned before the initial factory assembly, but may have been contaminated during disassembly and shipping. Therefore, gently polish the contact surfaces of the beam and the sliding block with the oil stone. Then, wipe the sliding block clean with the cloth. Repeat the same process for the other side. Step 2. Align the beam hose with the slider hose and lower the beam onto the bed slider. Note, regardless of the equipment used, always pay attention to the placement speed to avoid damaging the slider due to sudden impact. Step 3. Pre-tighten the beam fixing bolts. There are 4 sets in total, with 4 bolts in each set. The bolts should be slightly tightened to facilitate subsequent precision adjustments. Note, when tightening the bolts, tighten them diagonally. After pre-tightening the 8 bolts on one side, tighten the corresponding 8 bolts on the opposite side using the same method. Step 4. Place the precision granite right angle on the work table. Attach the dial indicator to the side of the headstock plate. And set the dial indicator to 0. Push the beam to move along the y-dissection and observe the needle of the dial indicator. If the variation between the start and end points is within 0.01 millimeters, it indicates that the granite right angle is zeroed in the y direction. If the variation between the start and end points exceeds 0.01 millimeters, adjustment is required, as shown in the video. Gently tap the granite right angle to bring the indicator needle closer to 0. Then, push the beam back to the start point. Reset the indicator to 0. Next, push the beam to the end point again. Observe the variation. If it still exceeds 0.01 millimeters, repeat the adjustment process described above. Continue this process until the variation between the start and end points is within 0.01 millimeters. Once the y direction is zeroed, proceed to adjust the x direction. If the variation between the start or end points is within 0.01 millimeters, it indicates that the x direction is zeroed, as shown in the video. If the variation between the start and end points exceeds 0.01 millimeters, adjustment is required, as demonstrated in the video. How is this adjustment performed? First, we need to select one side of the beam and loosen the 8 pre-tightened beam bolts from step 3. Gently tap the beam with a rubber hammer until the dial indicator returns to 0. Then, move the beam back to the starting point and verify whether the reading variation is within 0.01 millimeters. Once confirmed, tighten the bolts to secure the beam. After securing, recheck the reading to ensure accuracy. Step 5. Check the gear rack meshing clearance. The required clearance is 0.04 mm to 0.06 mm. Attach the aluminum wire to the rack gap using adhesive tape as shown in the diagram. Push the beam to roll over the aluminum wire. The section of aluminum wire secured by the adhesive tape should not be measured. Remove the aluminum wire. After removal, be sure to clean any aluminum residue from the rack. Tear off a flat piece of the aluminum sheet and measure its thickness with a micrometer. First, tighten the adjustment mechanism, then make fine adjustments. Continue making micro adjustments until a clear clicking sound is heard when checking the thickness of the aluminum sheet. At this point represents the clearance. If the meshing clearance exceeds 0.06 millimeters, how should it be adjusted? First, loosen these 4 bolts. Locate the dedicated access port for adjusting the gear rack meshing. Rotate the 2 central bolts counterclockwise to loosen them. Then turn the 2 outer bolts clockwise. Once adjusted, retighten the 2 central bolts, followed by pre-tightening all 4 bolts. Next, measure the gear rack meshing clearance again. Repeat the adjustment process until the clearance falls within 0.04 mm to 0.06 mm. If the measurement is correct, be sure to fully tighten all previously pre-tightened bolts. If the meshing clearance is less than 0.04 mm, how should it be adjusted? First, loosen these 4 bolts. Rotate the 2 outer bolts counterclockwise to loosen them, and turn the 2 central bolts clockwise. Once the adjustment is complete, retighten the 2 outer bolts, then pre-tighten all 4 bolts. Next, measure the gear rack meshing clearance again. Repeat the adjustment process until the clearance is within 0.04 mm to 0.06 mm. If the measurement result is correct, be sure to fully tighten all previously pre-tightened bolts. The other side should be measured or adjusted using the same method.